indispensable role of women in society. Good afternoon, Professor Headley. Today I will be presenting on a topic that is not only vital, but also deeply personal to me, the indispensable role of women in society. Women have played an integral part in shaping our world, and addressing the inequalities they face is crucial for building a better future. Let's dive into this topic together. Proposal plan. Description, tentative thesis, statement. Gender inequality is one of the most pervasive and persistent issues in modern society, undermining economic progress, social cohesion, and human rights. This proposal argues that achieving gender equality through legal reforms, educational initiatives, workplace policies, and cultural changes is not only a moral imperative, but also a practical necessity for societal advancement. By dismantling systemic barriers and fostering inclusivity, societies can unlock the full potential of half the population, creating a sustainable future defined by equity, innovation, and prosperity. This slide sets the stage for our discussion by highlighting the thesis of this proposal. Gender inequality remains a major challenge across the globe, affecting very much of women's lives, from the economy to basic human rights. The aim here is not only to explore the problems, but also to discuss actionable solutions that promote equity and progress for all. Rationale, and purpose. This proposal is designed to confront systemic inequalities faced by women across the globe and advocate for actionable solutions that lead to a more equitable society. Women's underrepresentation in leadership, persistent wage disparities, and the prevalence of gender-based violence are not only moral failings, but also barriers to societal progress. The rationale for this proposal is grounded in three core principles. Number one, economic growth. Research indicates that closing the gender gap in the workforce could add 12 trillion to global GDP by 2025. Empowering women to participate equally in the economy benefits everyone by fostering innovation, increasing productivity, and reducing poverty. Number two, social stability. Gender inequality contributes to poverty, violence, and social fragmentation. Addressing this issue creates stronger families, healthier communities, and more cohesive societies. Number three, human rights. Gender equality aligns with universal principles of justice and fairness, underscoring the necessity of dismantling discriminatory practices and policies. So, why is this topic important? The rationale for addressing gender inequality lies in its far reaching impact. As we'll see, tackling these issues doesn't just help women, it benefits entire societies by fostering economic growth, stability, and justice. These principles form the foundation of this proposal. This proposal seeks to offer concrete solutions that promote gender equality and address the root causes of systemic disparities. It provides a pathway for nations to achieve economic, social, and cultural progress by prioritizing inclusivity and equity. I propose practical solutions to address the root causes of gender inequality. These include legal reforms, workplace policies, and education initiatives. By implementing these solutions, we can create societies that are more inclusive and equitable. Let's look at how these solutions can be put into action. Audience. The target audience for this proposal includes the following groups. Number one, policymakers, responsible for enacting legislation to address wage disparities, enforce workplace equality, and combat gender-based violence. Number two, business leaders, key stakeholders in creating inclusive workplaces and fostering diverse leadership teams. Number three, educators, play a vital role in shaping attitudes and perceptions by challenging harmful gender stereotypes in classrooms and curricula. Advocacy groups, act as drivers of public awareness and accountability, mobilizing grassroots efforts to support gender equality initiatives. By addressing these diverse stakeholders, the proposal ensures a multi-sectoral approach to tackling gender inequality. Slide 6. Reasons for choosing the topic. Gender inequality is a global issue with profound implications for individuals, families, communities, and nations. The reasons for selecting this topic include economic potential. The economic benefits of closing the gender gap are well documented. Countries with higher levels of gender equality tend to have stronger economies, greater political stability, and better health outcomes. For example, Scandinavian countries such as Sweden and Norway consistently rank highest in gender equality and enjoy high GDP per capita, and life satisfaction includes. This source comes from the World Economic Forum, posted 2023. Global urgency. According to the World Economic Forum, it will take an estimated 131 years to close the global gender gap. At the current rate of progress, this unacceptable timeline highlights the urgency of immediate and transformative action. Alignment with human rights. Gender equality is enshrined in numerous international frameworks, including the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, known as the SDGs. Addressing this issue is a moral imperative that aligns with global standards of justice and equity. Now let me explain why I chose this topic. Gender inequality isn't just a moral issue. It's an economic and social imperative. The global urgency to close the gender gap highlights how interconnected this issue is to economic potential, global development, and human rights. The problem and opportunity. The problem. Systemic gender inequality manifests in several interrelated forms, including economic disparities. Women are paid less than men for equal work, with the global gender wage gap averaging 18%. This source comes from the World Economic Forum of 2023. This disparity limits women's economic independence and perpetuates cycles of poverty. Leadership gaps. Women hold only 24% of parliamentary seats worldwide and account for less than 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs. This source comes from the UN Women 2022. This underrepresentation stifles diverse perspectives and decision making. Gender-based violence. 1 in 3 women globally experiences physical or sexual abuse, often without adequate legal prosecutions or access to justice. This source comes from the World Health Organization 2021. While the challenges of gender inequality are significant, they also present incredible opportunities. Addressing economic disparities, leadership gaps, and gender-based violence creates pathways for societies to thrive. This duality of challenges and opportunities makes this an issue worth tackling. The opportunity. Addressing gender inequality presents significant opportunities for societal advancement. Economic growth, closing gender gaps in the workforce could add trillions of dollars to the global economy. This source comes from the McKinsey & Company, 2020. Improved health outcomes. Empowering women leads to better health and education for families, creating a positive ripple effect across communities. Stronger communities. Inclusive societies are more resilient, cohesive, and innovative. The opportunities here are immense. Imagine a world where women's full potential is unleashed, adding trillions to the global economy and creating healthier communities. That's the vision this proposal strives to achieve. Feasibility. The proposed solutions are both evidence-based and achievable, as demonstrated by successful initiatives in other countries. For example, Iceland has effectively reduced wage disparities through mandatory equal pay certification laws, serving as a model for other nations. Another example, Sweden has one of the world's highest female labor force participation rates due to its family-friendly policies, including paid parental leave and subsidized child care. This source comes from the OECD Gender Equality Report of 2022. Finally, let's talk feasibility. These aren't just lofty goals, they are grounded in real-world examples. Countries like Iceland and Sweden have already shown how effective gender equality policies can be. By following their lead, we can achieve similar success. Steps to address the problem. Equal pay legislation. Governments must enact and enforce wage transparency laws to close the gender pay gap. Wage audits and public reporting ensure accountability as demonstrated by Iceland's successful equal pay certification law. Leadership quotas. Establishing gender quotas for corporate boards and political offices ensures equitable representation. Studies show that companies with diverse leadership teams are 21% more likely to outperform their peers financially. This source comes from the Harvard Business Review of 2019. Education and awareness campaigns. School curricula must integrate gender studies to challenge harmful stereotypes. Public awareness campaigns can shift societal attitudes and promote the value of gender equality. Support for working mothers. Policies such as paid parental leave, subsidized childcare, and flexible work arrangements enable women to balance career and family responsibilities. Countries like Sweden and Norway have demonstrated the success of such measures in increasing female workforce participation. Combat gender-based violence. Strengthen legal protections against gender-based violence, establish specialized courts for survivors, and provide comprehensive support services. Spain's Violence Against Women Act is a model of how legal reform and public education can reduce domestic violence rates. Here's where the rubber meets the road. From equal pay legislation to education campaigns and workplace support for women, these are tangible actions we can take to create a more equitable society. Countries like Iceland have already demonstrated how impactful these measures can be. Anticipated challenges and responses. Resistance to change. Challenge. Critics may argue that gender quotas are unfair or unnecessary. Response. Present evidence that diverse leadership teams improve decision making and business outcomes. Quotas are a temporary measure to accelerate progress, not a permanent solution. Cost of implementation. Challenge. Funding for social programs such as subsidized childcare may be perceived as expensive. Response. Highlight the long-term economic benefits of gender equality, including increased workforce participation and higher GDP. Cultural resistance. Challenge. Deeply ingrained cultural norms may hinder progress. Response. Education and awareness campaigns can challenge stereotypes and foster inclusive attitudes over time. Of course, every proposal comes with challenges. Critics may resist change, cite costs, or cling to cultural norms. But for every challenge, there's a response by presenting evidence and focusing on long-term benefits. We can overcome resistance and drive progress. In conclusion, promoting gender equality is more than a moral imperative. It's a pathway to a brighter and more equitable future for all. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I hope it has inspired you to think about the indispensable role of women in society and how we can all contribute to positive change. Thank you so much for listening, Professor Headley. I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.